everybody! Today we are going to be authors and we're going to tell our own story. So the first thing we need to think about when we're telling a story is a character. We need to think about who is going to be in our story. So I normally get children to choose who's going to be in our story, but I will have to choose. So let's see who our character is going to be. What is it? It's a bee. Now, have a look at that bee. How would you describe how that bee looks? Can you think of anything to describe that bee? I can see he's got stripes. There once lived a bee. Bzzz. He had stripes. So we've got our character. Now we need to think about where our story happens. We need to think about our setting. It wouldn't be a very good story if we just had a character. So I'm going to choose the next picture where our character is. Do you know what that is? It's a hive. That's where the bees make their honey, isn't it? There once lived a bee. Bzzz. He had stripes. He lived in a hive. When you got near, you could hear. What do you think you could hear when you got near the hive? I think you might have been able to hear a lot of bees working hard making honey. What would that sound like? Bzzz. There once lived a bee. Bzzz. He had stripes. He lived in a hive. When you got near, you could hear all the bees buzzing. Bzzz. The next thing in our story, we need to think about what the character is doing. What's the character doing? It wouldn't be a very good story if we said there was a bee who lived in the hive, the end. So we need to think about what our character is doing. What do you think the bee is doing? What's the bee doing there? Do you think he might be getting some pollen to make honey? Getting the pollen. They love the pollen to make honey. There once lived a bee. Bzzz. He had stripes. He lived in a hive. When you got near, you could hear bees buzzing. Bzzz. He was at the flowers getting pollen to make honey. Now, in a story, there is usually a problem. Something happens. I'm a bit worried about this one. Because what do you think happened? Suddenly, something is going to happen. Suddenly, the bee is trapped in a spider's web. What do you think might happen to the bee? Do you think that the spider might eat the bee? Oh, I'm absolutely terrified. This story has suddenly got very, very scary. There once lived a bee. Bzzz. He had stripes. He lived in a hive. When you got near, you could hear bees buzzing. Bzzz. He was going to the flower to get pollen. Suddenly, he was trapped in a spider's web and the spider was coming towards him. Now, before you get too scared, in a story, when there's a problem, the problem is solved. Somebody usually comes to help. So, there's going to be another character. Who is it going to be? Who could help this poor bee in the web? Oh, I wonder if you know what that is.
Chick.
It's a bird, isn't it? The bird helped the bee to get out of the web. Oh, that's kind, isn't it?
Yeah.
Are you ready to go through the story again and see if you can join in with the actions? There once lived a bee. Bzzz. He had stripes. He lived in a hive. When you got near, you could hear bees buzzing. Bzzz. He was going to the flower to get pollen. Suddenly, he was caught in a spider's web and the spider was coming towards him. A bird came to help him and got him out of the web. Oh, how lovely. Now, just before the end of our story, we've got to think about the end. We've done the beginning and the middle. We need to think about what happens at the end. Where did they go at the end? I wonder. Oh, the bird and the bee went back to the flower. What do you think they were doing there? Do you think they went back to get some pollen? Maybe to make some lovely honey. Maybe they had a lovely, delicious tea of honey sandwiches. So we'll go through the story one more time, and at the end I want you to tell me how you think the characters might be feeling. There once lived a bee. Bzzz. He had stripes. He lived in a hive. When you got near, you could hear bees buzzing. Bzzz. He was going to the flower to get pollen. Suddenly, he was trapped in a spider's web and the spider was coming towards him. But a bird came to help him and took him away, and they went to the flower to get pollen so they could make some delicious honey. And how do you think those characters might have felt? I think the bee would have felt relieved and happy, and the bird would be pleased to have some honey. So see if you can remember that story. See if you can tell that story to your grown-up. But don't forget the beginning, the middle, and the end of the story. Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. Bye.